I mean, I sometimes quantify like AGI, the coming of AGI as like 10 times the Industrial Revolution at 10 times the speed. So unfolding over a decade instead of a century.
10 times the Industrial Revolution at 10 times the speed. The CEO of Google DeepMind, the architect of the modern AI, said that this year. And by the end of this video, I want to show you something even more specific. What Emad Mostaque, man who kicked off the AI generative wave, says it will be the last job to hold in the private sector. It's not what you think. I've pulled the most important moment from two of the most reliable and true conversation in AI in the last couple of weeks. What's changing? What's the new world look like? And most importantly, 4 things you can do right now to be at the forefront of this shift. If you are new here, hit the subscribe button. Let's go.
But people are definitely misunderstanding the scale of an unprecedented change. It's like when water turns to gas, when we are suddenly not the most capable entities in the world, and then not the smartest entities in the world. And those are the 2 changes that are coming up right now.
I think actually in most areas we are ahead of where I thought we would be. If you think about things like the video models, or even now with our newest systems like Genie, they're interactive world models, which I think is kind of incredible if you sort of step back and think about it. I think if you'd shown me that 5-10 years ago, I would have been pretty amazed. So I think in most domains we are ahead of where the field thought. There's still some big things missing though, like continual learning. These systems don't learn after you finish training them, after you put them out into the world.
Later this year, we expect to have general intelligence, or maybe next year, whereby you will have an AI that's more competent than a human just about anything that you can talk to, just like we're talking to now. And so we're hitting these levels of performance. But do you need to keep going up on the exponential to AIs that solve the mysteries of the universe for it to impact society? Of course not. You just need to have really good outsourced workers, even if they live on a GPU as opposed to another country.
But what does that mean for the economy right now? Data maybe surprise you. Here where it stops to be a prediction and starts to be a new story. In Q1 2026, 90,000 tech job cut. Oracle sent a 6 a.m. email to 30,000 people on April the 1st. Block cut 40% of its workforce. Amazon cut 60,000 jobs while posting record revenues. And Andrei Karpathy, co-founder of OpenAI, in December, 20% of his code written by AI. By January, 80%. This shift doesn't happen gradually. It's happened at the moment.
Well, certainly, you know, in the past, with every new revolutionary technology, there's been a lot of jobs disruption. So that's for sure. And I think that's definitely happened. So a lot of old jobs, you know, go away or not viable anymore. But then actually, the history of it is that a whole set of new jobs arrive that maybe one can't even imagine before. And those are high quality, higher paying. So that's the normal course. Of course, you have to be very careful to say this time is different. And I guess that's what people like Mark are claiming is like, you know, it's the same as the last sort of, you know, 10 massive breakthroughs like the internet, mobile, and so on. I do think this is going to be bigger than all of those previous breakthroughs, technological breakthroughs.
You're already seeing softening in graduate hiring because you don't really need graduate level skills anymore, right? You're person with a few years experience can do the job of 2 graduates now, 3 graduates, 4 graduates, and they're annoying to train up. So the early stage jobs disappear, then that ramifies into the whole market.
So what does the new world looks like on the other side? And here is where it gets interesting, because both Demis and Emad are actually surprisingly positive and optimistic of what's coming.
think on the positive side and the things obviously I spent my whole career and life building towards AGI is I think it will be the ultimate tool for science and medicine. So in terms of advancing scientific discovery, finding cures to diseases, I think we need that kind of technology. And so I'm hoping in 5 years plus time, we'll be sort of entering a new golden era, golden age of scientific discovery.
But the reality is we have an abundance coming in, whereby everyone in the world is capable of anything. Like you can make anything you can imagine a reality. And how cool is that? Except for people just aren't thinking in the right way, which is that you have this big transition period and suddenly you don't need to have as many people as you thought. Like, I'm not saying do it by yourself, but realistically, most problems out there can be solved with a team of 6 to 12 people with skin in the game who care and a whole bunch of AI. And you'll find you just don't need to scale that much after that, right? So you can do the cool things. The last human job in the private sector will probably be scapegoat, right? Like, you can't blame an AI, so you just have a human sitting there who you can blame. To give an example of that, let's take law. So there's been a recent case where it was shown that your discussions with the AI on law are not privileged, which means that the opposition counsel could ask for them in discovery, whereas they can't ask for your emails to your lawyers in discovery. Yeah. So creating a law firm, which literally just has a person reading that stuff, suddenly becomes an incredibly profitable high-performance law firm.
There it is. The last job is scapegoat. And that point isn't cynical. It's actually one of the most realistic point of view of anyone has had about these coming ways of AI-first economy. Accountability, trust, judgment. The things you can't outsource to a GPU. And Demis adds something even more important than this.
I worry a lot about the philosophical questions around it. Like when it comes, let's say, assume we get the technical right. Let's assume we get the economics part of it right. Both of those are hard. Then there's a philosophical question of what is meaning, what is purpose. We'll find out maybe what consciousness is. What does it mean to be human? I think that's what's coming down the road, and I think we need some great new philosophers to help us navigate that.
Before we get into what you can do right now, there is one thing that whether both of these men are pretending isn't real, and it's the thing the most AI content ignores.
There's two things I worry about. One is the misuse of these systems by bad actors, and they can be repurposed. These are dual-purpose technologies. They can be used for incredible good in science and health, as we just discussed, but they can also be repurposed for harmful ends by a bad actor. So that's one issue. Second issue is a technical one, making sure these systems, as they get more powerful, not today's systems, but maybe in a year or two's time, when they become more agentic, more autonomous, as we get towards AGI, can they be kept on the guardrails that we want?
My probability of doom is 50%, because these AIs are horrifically misaligned. Again, they're intellectual yet idiot. And another way I like to think about it is they've gone to school, but they don't have the best home life, right? Like, we don't program any ethics or morality or anything into this, not even Asimov's laws of robotics, as imperfect as they are, Like, that's crazy.
It's sort of crazy the timing that we're in, right, with this most consequential maybe technology the world's ever seen, at the same time as a very fragmented sort of international system. And it's not ideal, but I think we're going to have to try and do the best we can to at least come up with a sort of set of minimum standards, some benchmarks that test for undesirable properties, for example, deception. Nobody should be building systems that are capable of deception, because then they could be getting around other safeguards.
So given all of that, what do you do if you're building your business or you're thinking about your career? If you're raising your kids who are going to grow up in this new world? Here are 4 things that matter right now. Update your mental model right now, not when it's obvious. Most people shift from decision under risk to decision under uncertainty only when the world forces them to. The builder or win make that shift earlier.
You have two types of decision making. One is decision making under risk. You know what the variables are. You know what the world looks like. It's quite stable, so you assign percentages.
Yep.
The other is decision making under regret or under uncertainty, where you minimize for maximum regret. So you're at the edge of a desert. You have some options of paths to take. You're going to die. You minimize for regret. You just don't go anywhere, really. You know?
Yeah.
And so when you shift from one to the other, it's very scary being under uncertainty. And so you stick with what it is. But then when you get a tipping point, things change fast, like the last piece of sand. You see people like Andrej Karpathy, co-founder of OpenAI, ex-head of AI at Tesla, one of the most respected coders in the world. Start of December, he's like, 20% of my code is with AI. January, 80% of my code is AI,
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to get to that little capability barrier, and then you need that magic moment.
Get proficient with the tools, not just aware of them. Demis' direct advice to anyone asking what to do right now, he said, get unbelievably proficient. Awareness is not a competitive advantage. Proficiency is.
I was to talk to a class of undergrads right now, I would be telling them to get really unbelievably proficient with these tools. I think to the extent that even those of us building it, we're so busy building it, it's hard to have also time to really explore almost the capability overhang even today's models and products have, let alone tomorrow's. And I think that can be maybe better than a traditional internship would have been in terms of you sort of leapfrogging yourself to be useful in a profession.
Build on AI, not just with it. People who are winning on this transition are not the one they are using the tools. They are the one who's built the entire workflow and business on top of AI as an engine.
Within 1,000 days, the nature of your job will become economically irrelevant if you work in anything on the other side of a screen. And then a little bit after for other jobs. It doesn't mean you'll lose your job. But if you embrace the technology and you're the most capable person at your job, and you can spin up new companies and things like that, then you're bulletproof in this interim period because you're the top of the crop, effectively. And people will be looking for your services and you'll be right in it. Your capabilities go up magnifold because you don't need to hire people anymore.
Protect the things AI can't replace. Both Demis and Emad independently land on the same point: human-centered judgment, trust, accountability, and meaning are the durable assets. They are not soft skills. They are the scarcest thing in an AI-abundant world.
Pension funds should be buying into all the big AI companies and making sure that everyone has a piece of that. Or sovereign funds, maybe every country should have a sovereign wealth fund that does that. That would be the sort of investment way of doing it. I think also there needs to be thoughts about if there is this massive productivity gain, but it's sort of narrow where that accrues, how do we redistribute and how do we distribute that so that everyone benefits from these huge gains. And I can see all sorts of ways that could be done, including like providing sort of infrastructure and other things with that additional productivity gain. I mean, there could be unbelievable things happening in the 5 to 10 year timescale, including like a breakthrough in some kind of renewable free energy. Maybe we solve fusion. We're working on that, right, with our partners at Commonwealth Fusion. I think AI is going to usher in, maybe we have amazing new superconductors, better batteries, material science. There's all sorts of ways I could see that completely changing the nature of the economy.
Demis was asked at the end of the interview, what would you most like to be remembered for? He said, advancing science and curing terrible diseases. The man who built the technology that is going to reshape the world, his answer was the most human possible. That's the things that both Demis and Emad are coming back again and again. The goal was never to replace what makes us human. Goal was to give more of it. The challenge is going through the transition without losing what we really care about and this channel is about. So subscribe and like the video if you enjoy and you find it useful. I will see you to the next one. Bye bye, and let me know in the comment which one of these 4 things is more relevant to you right now. Bye bye, see you to the next one.